Positioning is very important in Dota, and having good positioning can often get you more kills, fewer deaths, and overall more wins. So in this video, I'll go through this concept, explain what it is, how to do it better, and I'm also going to analyze an example so you can see the process more clearly. Now before I get started, I just want to say that yes, I'm not really playing much Dota at the moment, and am smashing out a lot of Valorant. I want to make guides and videos for lots of different games, which is why you'll see less new Dota videos at the moment. But I just wanted to let you know that I'll eventually come back to Dota as I love the game, but just really needed a break from it. I don't know about you guys, but sometimes the toxicity and constant losing is a major downer, so I just feel like I needed to try something different for a change. Anyway, I'm planning to do more streaming soon as well, so feel free to come hang out when I do, but rest assured there will be more Dota down the track. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, let's get started with positioning. First of all, what am I talking about when I am talking about positioning? Simply put, positioning is the location of your hero on the map. Most of you probably already understand that, but having good positioning is a bit more complicated. To have good positioning, you need to have good map awareness so that you have an idea of where the enemies are. You don't need to know exactly where they are, but an idea is enough so that you can position yourself in a way that keeps you safe but also able to cast your spells correctly if you need to. High ground is an important part of good positioning, as you can get the jump on an enemy who is on lower ground since they won't have vision of you, unless of course they have wards. Ultimately, good positioning will help you live longer, survive through ganks and team fights, and can even help turn the tides on the enemy, allowing you to catch them if they get out of position. I think a lot of us can relate to this, as it is really easy to dive enemies too far and then end up dying as you're out of position. I think most of you guys probably already get that, but there are a few factors involved here that you need to be constantly thinking about. Alright, so to get yourself in a good position, there are a few things that you need to think about, and this actually changes depending on what is happening in the game. So I'm going to talk about how you should think in the laning stage, mid to late game, and also in team fights, starting with laning. So you're at the start of the game and you've worked out that you're going to go to one of the side lanes. Now the core heroes in the side lanes will want to try to get as much farm as possible. If they get the opportunity, they might try to harass the enemy to push them out of the lane to make the farm easier to get, but for the most part, they just want to last hit the creeps. Now, if the lane has kill potential, then they might play a bit more aggressive and look for ways to get you into a position to kill you off and send you back to Lumby. Any lane with burst damage, reasonable attack damage, slows or stun abilities have quite high kill potential, and if you're going up against this kind of lane, you need to be aware of it and position yourself to avoid being killed. Now the first thing you want to do is look at the enemy heroes in your lane and work out how they might kill you. I've got an example match here of a match play between VP and Evil Geniuses, and we're going to take a look at this bottom lane here. Now we've got an Enchantress Sven matchup for the Radiant side, and they're going up against an Earth Spirit and a Darkseer. Now just looking at this, I can already see that the Sven Enchantress have quite a bit of kill potential. Especially since, you know, Enchantress, she's got a slow from enchant, and her Impetus ability does quite a bit of damage, so she doesn't quite have that yet, but she will. And then the Sven obviously has Stormhammer, which is a stun, and if these two guys are close enough together, they'll both get stunned, so that's quite a deadly combination there. On the other hand, Darkseer and Earth Spirit, you know, they don't have that much kill potential. They don't have that much hard lockdown, they don't deal a lot of damage, and I can't really see them killing these guys unless they catch them out of position and maybe kick them into the tower. So I think probably in this lane the Sven and Enchantress can play quite aggressive. Now before I start playing a bit more, we've identified how they might try for a kill, but you should also be looking to avoid getting into a position where they can be successful. So in this particular matchup, the Darkseer and Earth Spirit, they really should just be careful not to stack up on each other, because the stun from Sven will stun both of them, and you just don't want to be double stunned. They both have escape mechanisms, but if they're both stunned, they will probably be killed before they can get away. For Sven and Ench, these guys, they just need to be careful about getting too close to the tower and getting out of position so that they can't get kicked back into the tower, or someone teleport in and gank them. It's pretty much the only way that they will die that I can see. I think this is going to be a hard lane for the Dire side, but we'll see what happens here. Have I got it turned down a little bit? I do. Yeah, so we can already see they're being quite aggressive here. They just want to deal some damage. These two heroes, they've both got escape mechanisms, but they often don't level them from the start. So we can see that they want to try and get as much damage as possible on the Earth Spirit and on the Darkseer before they get their escape abilities. Now, if you are going up against an enemy lane with a lot of kill potential, then playing split from your laning partner can be a good idea. You can see they're sort of playing a little bit split here. In this case, they should try and help each other out, but we can see that they know that the lane's going to be hard for themselves, so they're doing some weird stuff, pulling creeps over, trying to get the lane back to them. And we can see that probably he's going to die here. That's the first blood. So definitely positioning in this case. He was trying to get the creeps into a position to help the Darkseer. It's probably not too bad that the Earth Spirit died because he's the support hero in this case. So if you are playing split from each other, if they do initiate on you and you do die, preferably it's the support hero and not the core hero who dies. In this matchup, I can see that the Dire side VP, these guys are going to play split quite well, but the Radiant side, they've just got so much more kill potential, so they can afford to be a lot more aggressive on this team. You can already see the Earth Spirit getting a lot more damage done on him. The Darkseer also quite low. And Sven's got some nice free farm here. Now, another way to avoid dying is to put the enemies into a position where they themselves might die if they try to kill you. So an example of that is by getting them low enough that if they initiate on you, you might be able to counter initiate, or if you're against your tower and they initiate on you, they have to dive quite far, and then they risk, they put themselves at risk of getting taking a lot of tower damage, and maybe someone will teleport in and kill them off. So moving further into the game now, things change quite a lot as you no longer need to consider just the lane matchups, but the matchups of the whole team. So the whole enemy team you'll need to consider now. Sometimes it can be quite hard to figure out where to position your hero, but I find that putting myself in the enemy's mind helps a lot. So just think about, if you were the enemy, what would you be trying to do and where would you want to go? Now, we're gonna take this example here of the Sven. So he's pushed out the bottom lane. He doesn't have, if I go to free camera for a second, he doesn't have too much vision. He knows that there's an Ursa and a Darkseer here, so we can resume the game now. But we know that he's got he can see these two guys, so he knows where they are, but he doesn't know where the rest of the team is. So he's backing off because they might be coming through the jungle trying to gank him. Yeah, he sees the Earth Spirit top here. So he knows that it's probably unlikely. Now he sees the Dragon Knight as well, so it's probably unlikely they're coming for him. So he's gonna just go back and farm for a little bit, and you can see them gathering here, and they're probably gonna go for a smoke. So this is a good play. They know where the enemy team is. They want to gank them. That's a good play. So they've smoked up on the Radiant side. They know the enemy was just here, and they're going to go for this gank. Now, unfortunately, they run into the Ursa here, who's probably one of the hardest heroes to kill. The Ursa immediately gets his BKB and his ult off, so they do pretty much no damage, and he just BKB and TPs away. Now, if we look at log on both teams, and I'll just unpause it for a sec, you can see the positioning of the Dire side. Now, they're a lot weaker than the Ursa, so this is the best case scenario for the Dire side here. They get ganked, but the Ursa is probably the tankiest hero. He's able to get out, and the rest of his team is behind him just in case they need to turn and fight, but they're not too close to the Ursa and the enemy team that they'll get initiated on. And if they do get initiated on, it's pretty dangerous for them because they're diving quite deep behind the tier 2 tower here, and they could turn this fight quite easily. So they're positioned very well here. Now I want to go back a little bit because I want to sort of analyze the mind of Ursa and the Dire team here. So if I go to player perspective, just jump back a few seconds. We want Log Dire. So this Ursa, no one on this team actually knows that they're smoked up and they're going to be ganked in a few seconds. But essentially, when you are in your jungle, or when you are going around the map, you want to think about how you might die right now. So in this case, if you're the Ursa, you're farming in the jungle, you've got an idea of where two of the enemies are. He can't see anyone on the map. So he's got to be thinking, maybe the enemy is going to come from the river and gank me. They probably won't come this way because the Dragon Knight's here. So I'll play it a little bit. They're falling back. He's hitting the creeps. So really, Ursa, the only way he can die is if he gets ganked from here and he's not ready for it and he doesn't get any of his abilities off. Luckily, yeah, he's probably already thinking about this. You can see it a little bit. He's sort of turning away, getting ready to run away a little bit, and he's popped it. He would have seen this a little bit here. I've just paused it, but he would have seen that. So he'll be ready to run. He's already running away. Gets his Earth Shock off so he can get over the hill and enrage. So he knows what's coming. The rest of his team, they will be reacting now as well. So you can see them running over. But he's already in a position where he's pretty safe and he can just teleport away. So by thinking where the enemy team might be and how you might die, he's very ready to deal with that situation and put himself in a position where he can safely retreat and regroup after this. And that's something you should do in your fights as well, in your games. Just whenever you're alone, or even if you're with a teammate, wherever you are on the map, just think about, how might I die? Like, maybe the enemy is coming from behind me. We don't have any wards up, so maybe they're in our jungle. If they're farming down bottom, you probably know where they are, or if they're pushing a tower together, you know where they are. But in general, you've just got to consider that. Even when they're pushing that tower, if you're behind the tower, just check the enemy's items. They might have a blink dagger, they might blink on you, and that's how you can die. So all of these things will help you put yourself into a position that's safer, and you'll die less often, and it'll be much better for you if you do this. The last positioning scenario here is in team fights and is very critical to ensure a good team fight. There's a lot of things to consider in team fights, as they can break out at pretty much any time and are often chaotic with spells flying everywhere. Firstly though, think about your role. Generally, core heroes want to dish out damage safely, and support heroes want to protect their cores by healing and controlling the enemies with their disables. Next, think about who the main targets are. If there is a hero out of position, they should be the primary target. After that, any hero that is causing problems for your team in these fights should be your next target. Now that could be a support with lots of disables, or maybe it could be their main damage dealer. Another way to think of this is to think about the threat of each enemy hero and put yourself in a position where you are safe behind your team, or are able to disable and kill them as you need. Okay, so we've got the Dire team here pushing this bottom lane in, and there's going to be a team fight breakout shortly. And I want to look at the Warlock in this situation. He has pretty good positioning and I liked it, so I thought this was a good fight to have a look at. Now you can see that, I'm just going to pause it quickly, but initially you can see that Ursa's going in. He's in a pretty bad position, he's quite far from his team, not too bad, but he gets caught out and gets tossed in immediately. And that's pretty bad positioning. He could get killed here if the enemy team was, if they had the right abilities and were all ready. But unfortunately for the Radiant team, he's able to get out. So it's pretty lucky, but he's able to get out. But Dragon Knight now, he's pushed up quite far, and they get zoned by this Blood Right from the Bloodseeker. So he's out here, he gets initiated on. And if we go back just a fraction. So as all this happens, for some reason he's smoked now. But these guys are all retreating, right? So they're retreating. Dragon Knight starts to retreat, but he gets initiated on. And immediately the Warlock turns around and just drops his Golem, Chaotic Offering, on all 5 enemies. So he's turned the fight around immediately. And we can see some good team play and team combinations here from the Darkseer, Vacuum and Wall. And immediately the Warlock, he casts all of his spells. So he's got no spells and he just starts at the back. In the back lines he casts Upheaval. So he's slowing and zoning the enemy, preventing these guys in the back lines from helping the two that were in the front that just got killed off. Now we see Enchantress, she bought back. And we can see the Earth Spirit is in way too deep. He's way out of position, gets killed off. And these guys, they're retreating. Now, as soon as they retreat, Warlock retreats as well. And he goes with his team. Now, that whole fight, the Warlock was at the back. If we go back again, you can see the Warlock, the whole fight, he's in the back line. So he's never really in a position that's really dangerous for him. He's always safe behind his team. Now sure, the Storm Spirit or Tiny could have initiated on him, like the Tiny could have blinked or the Storm Spirit could have zipped in with Ball Lightning, but that would have put them in a lot of danger and they probably would have died as a result, so they don't do that. So he's pretty safe. I reckon he knows this as well. He's probably saying if they jump on me, we just kill them. So he knows that he's pretty safe back here, and this is just really good positioning from the Warlock. Now we see here the Earth Spirit, I don't know what's happening, but he goes in, and this is bad positioning. You don't want to be this guy. He jumps into 3 of them and he just gets blown up. So be the Warlock, guys. Make sure that you're the Warlock. I really hope this helps you get a better grasp on the concept of positioning and puts you in a better position to win more games. Thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, make sure you hit the like button. I love making videos that make a difference to your gameplay, and if there is anyone or a friend or someone you know who might like this or find it useful, make sure you share it with them as well. If you want more helpful tips and tutorials, make sure you subscribe and turn notifications on so you never miss a video. Thanks again for watching. I'm Defied and happy gaming.